today. We've got Susan Niebergall, first guest that's female, and that I'm so excited to have her here. We're going to talk about females, how they struggle to get past middle age and how can they possibly gain muscle, lose fat, and get empowered after that.
Hi.
Susan, so excited to talk to you.
I'm so excited to be here. Good to see you, Astrid. So cool to see you. Where are you
That's
located,
amazing.
Astrid?
I am in Australia.
Oh,
Australia,
so it's
on the
tomorrow.
other side of the world. Yes.
Oh my God. This whole time zone thing just like, how can it be tomorrow already?
It is amazing. Hey, I think you have a great story, and I think it's so inspiring to see how amazing you've traveled especially in the past 10 years, how everything changed in your life. What happened?
You know, it's interesting. It's really, honestly, more like the last 5 years where it kind of all changed. I was doing everything that a lot of people do throughout for 40 years, 30 years probably. And that was just eating healthy, not paying attention, just trying to eat healthy, quote, healthy, clean, whatever you want to call it. Never paying any attention to portion sizes or anything. So I continued the yo-yo train. I lost weight with Jenny Craig way back in the 90s, I think, or yeah, early 90s, and lost 50 pounds. Seemed to work at the time, but I never learned anything. So it never stayed off, right? So the next 30 years, yo, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Really frustrating, like so many people. I mean, that you see too. I mean, we see this all the time with people that will gain and lose the same 30, 40 pounds just in different increments over time, right?
Yes.
And so about 5 years ago, literally, I hired Jordan Syatt to be my online coach, thinking at the time I wanted to power lift. That was my initial reason to hire him. And at that point, I had gotten, I don't want to say I got my nutrition act together. I hadn't, but I was in a better place. Like I was starting to think a little bit more and I was starting to see a little bit of change. So I hired him because I wanted to do powerlifting. At least I thought so at the time. And just studying from him and learning things from him, the pieces of the puzzle started to come together. And I think it's a tribute to finding people to surround yourself with that believe in you, that understand you, that can help you cut through all the stuff and push you out of your comfort zone, because I was totally pushed out of my comfort zone, nutritionally and through my workout. So that's kind of when it all started to happen. And that was only like 5 years ago. You know, I'm 60 years old now. So I'm thinking it was probably, I was 54, 55 in that, somewhere in there. I don't remember exactly, but yeah.
We as a coaches, we don't actually realize that sometimes coaches need coaches to change our situation. 5 years ago, you were there. Do you have actually a picture of you comparing yourself 5 years ago and when you turned 60? What happened in that turning point in your life that you said, I need to change something. Something is not getting where I want to be. What was happening in there?
Right before some of those pictures were taken and before I signed on with Jordan, I literally, I don't know, I was in my bathroom one day, literally looking down at my belly going, what the hell has happened to me? You know, I was a fit pro. I'm in the industry and I feel like I have no control. I felt like my belly just kept growing. I felt like I had no control over what was happening to me. And no one really talked about menopause then. I think that it's gotten more and more out there. I'm trying to get it out there. I know a lot of my colleagues are trying to get it out there too. And I think I didn't know anything about it really, except what you hear just randomly, night sweats and hot flashes and whatever. I didn't understand what was happening to me, but I thought for sure that was the reason why I had no control. And one day I was looking in my bathroom, I was so upset and I said, I've got to go see my doctor because I'm sure this is the reason. It was like, it was all making sense to me. Oh, this is why I haven't been able to lose the weight and keep it off. I get it. Let me go to the doctor. My metabolism's probably slow. I'm going to get some medication. I'm going to get out of there and boom, this is it. And it was none of that. It was none of that. I was devastated when my doctor told me my blood work was fine. I mean, how stupid is that? I was devastated. I should have been like
That's
super
funny.
happy, right? I should have been super happy because her message to me was, you're in control. And that's the great news, right? But it was hard to hear.
It's funny. Let me interrupt you, but this is
Yeah.
really funny because it is so common to see that we're waiting for something to blame, to put the blame onto, rather than actually put the responsibility on us and take the control. It is much easier just to say, you know what, it's my hormones, it's my slow metabolism. And this is kind of not taking accountability for saying, you know what, I can do everything that is in my power and I have the control over everything. If I am sick or if I have a metabolic problem, I can not necessarily fix it, but I can get medicated for improving my thyroid, or if it's something in regards with my hormones, or like with menopause, like hormone replacement therapy for some women might work. Sorry to interrupt you.
I was very upset because of what you just said. I had to now look inside of me, like, for the answer. Like, I had something else to blame. I blamed getting older and menopause and the slow metabolism. My thyroid was low and blah, blah, blah. And so when the doctor said it's none of those things, you know, you don't have anything else to blame. So that started me looking at myself. And it took a while. I mean, I didn't want to accept what she said at the beginning, you know, because I was so convinced. But it's, you know, it sat with me for a while. And during that time, I didn't start tracking calories or anything, but I just started becoming maybe more aware, is the best way to put it, of portion sizes, which I really didn't pay any attention to before because I was eating healthy and I figured it didn't matter, right? I mean, so that little tweak started to happen. And just that, and me, I had a different coach before Jordan, and he actually helped me quite a bit with some lifts in the gym or whatever. Actually, he also overtrained me quite a bit. He got me training 6 days a week, twice a day on some of those days. And so when I signed on with Jordan, that's what I'd been doing. And when he scaled me back to 4 days, I was like, what am I going to do? You know,
this is not good.
I know, I was freaking out. But trust that. I trusted that. And then I started, I joined his inner circle way back when too. And I didn't go to him for nutrition coaching because I thought I had started to figure this out. And I really hadn't, but I was better than I was. So I didn't go to nutrition, partially because I was scared too. I didn't want to really hammer it hard. I wasn't there yet, you know? So I wanted to do it my own way. So I joined his inner circle, and every month in the inner circle, we put out nutrition guidelines, and I just started to kind of follow those. And then I read everything he published. I listened to every video. He's my coach, so we talked all the time. And I just put into practice things that I was learning from him. And then things just started to change. And I started taking my focus kind of not off my nutrition, but off the counting and tracking and becoming a little too crazy with that.
Obsessive.
Over to, I want to get a chin up. That's what I want to do. And I just focused my energy there. I trained super hard, and that was such a big goal of mine, and continues to be as I improve with that. And that's how the ball kind of got rolling for me. It was little baby steps. And all of this that I just said happened over a span of time. It wasn't in like a month or two. I mean, this was over a span of time. But definitely life-changing. I am physically in the best condition I've ever been in my entire life. I am as healthy as I've ever been. I just feel like the mind and the body don't always equal up. It's so funny. People say age is just a number, and it is. But there's also realities with being my age.
Yeah,
I can't
absolutely
do what my colleagues that are 30 years younger than me, I can't do what they do. Well, I can't. I just can't. I want to. Here, I think I can. But the reality is I have become very smart with my own training. And I feel like there are some things that I don't do anymore. because I feel like it's not in my best interest if I want to keep doing this forever. And so I've become smart. I've gotten injured, and it's not from anything weird. It's just the nature of this beast of lifting weights. And my hip's been acting up recently, so I'm kind of switching how I'm doing things with that so I can continue on. You know, it's just, as you get older, you get smarter in a lot of ways. And I think that's definitely the case, right? I mean, I was a dumbass when I was in my 20s. I tell Jordan all the time, when I was his age, I was just like, I was ridiculous. And here, you know, he's running a big business and has me as a partner now. I mean, it's just, back then, you know, I wasn't in that kind of place. I was just starting my teaching career.
And tell me a little bit about that, on your day-to-day basis. What do you normally do for those women that are watching you, that are saying, well, how much he has to do to stay in that shape? She probably be in the gym 3 hours every day. Yeah. She must be eating really, really strict calories to be in the best shape she has. Yeah. What's going on behind the scenes? Tell me a little bit about that.
And this is a great question, because people assume that all the time. I get asked when I do these Instagram question boxes, I always get asked, like, how often do I work out? And I work out 4 days a week. That's it. And I'm there maybe, now the gyms are open here, my gym's open. I'm there maybe an hour, maybe an hour and a half, and only an hour and a half because I talk to people. That's my problem. And I video just about everything I do. And that takes more time. And I video for myself primarily. And every now and again, I'll send something to Jordan for him to take a look. And I'll post some of it on my stories. But generally speaking, I don't put in hours and hours and hours of time at the gym. And if I do, it's my own fault because I talk too much to people. You know, you have your own gym friends and you say, hey, and especially now we haven't seen each other in, you know, months. So 4 days a week, that's it. The other days, I don't do anything. I don't cardio. I walk every day, except like today I didn't because it was pouring rain and I'm a wimp. I'm not going to do it when it's raining. But I walk not because I think of it as cardio. I walk because I like it. I like to put on a podcast and just decompress or something, you know. But that's what I do workout wise, 4 days a week. Let's say an average of an hour per workout. The other 3 days I walk. If it's not raining, I walk. Food wise, I haven't tracked anything in years. So I don't track anything right now. And the only reason I feel like I can do that successfully is because of all the work I put in years ago and learning how to do it. So I've been in my maintenance now for a long time. And I recently did a muscle building phase, 6 months of building muscle. I didn't track anything in that. And I don't recommend people do that. But for me, I kind of looked at it like this. I know how I can eat to maintain my weight, you know, I mean, within the same 2 to 4 pounds, I'll just sit there. And those 2 to 4 pounds, I know what I can do. So I'm just going to add 2 or 3 days a week, about 400 calories on those 3 days. The rest of the days, I'm just going to eat like I normally eat. And that's how I approached muscle building. And it worked perfectly for me, but only because I put in so much time learning calories and portion sizes and you know, that 4-ounce piece of chicken was really 5 all those years. I never knew that. You know, I mean, things like that can make a big difference when you actually take the time to pay attention and learn, and then you put it into practice. You know,
people think actually they have to be tracking all their life, and this is something that has to be chronically forever. And I think tracking has its place. It has its value because it is an impressive way to learn about your nutrition, your portion sizes, what's in your food, what's the right macronutrients that you're getting into your body. But then there's a point where you can definitely transition to learn more a little bit about what your body's telling you. Yeah. You know now your nutrition, but now it's time as well to start putting some insights into your nutrition. Yeah. So it's learning and listening to, well, am I really hungry? I actually not hungry at all. perhaps I don't need to be eating right now. I'm probably sad or lonely, or I'm tired, and I kind of trying to use, and I'm trying to use food as a mechanism of, well, as a reward, or because it feels good, but not necessarily because you're hungry. So this is really important, and that you're saying, I learned it in the past, and now I kind of figure out what my maintenance calories are, just because I weigh myself and I'm relatively stable, and I am seeing that if it changes up a few pounds and goes down a few pounds, I kind of stay in that range. So maintenance weight as well is sort of a little range. It's not something that you will stay in a specific number all the time. And that's really important to tell.
That's so important, that piece, because I think in our heads, we think, okay, maintenance means I'm going to stay at 130 pounds. And when we see the scale go up, you're like, oh no, I'm out of maintenance. It's like, no, because even within a given day, I mean, and you know this because we both say this all the time, the scale fluctuates all the time. I mean, it's going to do its thing. I had somebody DM me a picture of her weight graph, and she goes, is this normal? And I looked at it, and I said, yeah, look at the patterns you're developing. You have a spike, and it takes X number of days, and it comes back down, and you sit down here for a little while, and then it starts going up. I mean, you can almost predict what's going to happen. I said, that's the cool part about this, is you start seeing those things. You can actually play with that a little bit, maybe even get into a little, okay, I think tomorrow, let's see what happens tomorrow. You know, it's kind of fun. I mean, and this is coming from somebody who didn't even own a scale until 3 years ago, maybe. I mean, I never owned one. I just got weighed at the doctor's office once a year, you know, that god awful appointment where you're sitting in the waiting room praying to God you don't have to step on the scale. You always have to. And it's that bar scale that it just, they keep
it freaks you out.
And you're like, inside you're going, stop. You know?
I know.
I hated that. It's just awful. And once I started weighing every day, and I decided to post it on social media too, not because I was trying to do a cut or anything. I was just trying to maintain, but I wanted to do it for me so that I got used to it every day, and that I was obligated to post it every day, just to hold me accountable to do it. Because even, you know, the first time the scale took a little bit of a jump, I'll admit I had the kick in the gut. I did. It was like, oh crap. But the difference now is the kick in the gut's still there, by the way. I don't think that will ever go away, especially with somebody my age, because my whole life I've been brought up to believe that if the scale goes up, it's bad. Just period. That's it, right? Yeah. That's not going to go away. But the difference now is it's a kick in the gut. It's a couple seconds, and then it's like, it's okay. I know what's coming. You know, I know what this is. Day-to-day scale fluctuations are not about fat. We lose sight of that very quickly. For some reason, we all know it takes forever to lose fat, but boy, can we gain it in a day, right? I mean, we're not logical with ourselves.
And it's so important to, like, understanding why the weight actually fluctuates. It's like, if it changes overnight, it's not necessarily because you gain 1 or 2 pounds of fat overnight. It's because there's a lot of things going on in your body, and your body mass is just a reflection of what's happening in your body, and not necessarily because of the fat. Your body is a composition of muscle, fat, water, and water is a component that changes and fluctuates a lot within our body. Yeah. And you can include also, like, if you ate something close to where when you're going to measure your body weight, that's going to be in your stomach still, and your system.
Yeah, it's actually sitting in there. Yeah.
Or if you haven't pooped.
That too. You know, it's interesting because we forget that scale weight is not just about fat. It's about muscle. It's about organs. It's about tissue. It's about bones. It's about skin. It's about everything. When we step on that scale, it is measuring all of that, not just fat. We think it's just fat, but it's really measuring all of that. So all the fluctuation things that you were talking about, that's normal. You know, all these day-to-day fluctuations are more about water or content than they are about anything else. You know, you start comparing your weight. Stop comparing it Monday and Tuesday to Wednesday, Wednesday to Thursday, and start comparing it in 30-day chunks. Then you can kind
Absolutely.
of go head to head, right? The first of the month to the first of the month, compare those two numbers. And then the second of the month to the second of the month, those two numbers. That's going to give you more valuable information on what your trend is doing.
Yeah, the trendings is what I always tell my clients to focus on. Look at the trends and look at the whole perspective on how is it looking from the outside, not just day by day, because it's going to be really frustrating if you only focus on, well, today I gained 1 pound and yesterday I lost 2 pounds. What is happening? And my body is just broken or something like that. And this is something that a lot of women struggle with. So my other question, going just a little bit off that point, is what are the things that you feel you have struggled the most recently? Perhaps like some struggles or some things that you feel like they are being a little bit of a barrier for you to achieve your goals or feel better or do things that you want to get to, but you feel like there's something that is holding me.
Recently?
Yeah.
I don't know if I can say that there's any, I feel like I'm being held back by anything. All the goals I have physically for me are more performance oriented from the strength perspective, you know, like I want to get stronger at this. I want to be able to lift this, you know, those kinds of little mini goals. I don't really foresee there's anything keeping me from that. I will say the pandemic has hit me a little bit harder than what I thought it might. And at the beginning of it, I gave myself daily must-do performance things while the gyms were closed and all of that to keep my mind fresh, to keep me disciplined. And I made a ton of progress with that, a ton of progress, chin-up wise, especially. I did chin-ups every day. Like I started with 6 repetitions every day. Then the next week was 7 repetitions every day. And then the next week was 8 repetitions. And it's amazing what consistent practice will do. I mean, I didn't overtrain them. I just did a little, it's called Grease the Groove, where you just do a little bit just to practice movement and everything. And yeah, physically, I push myself a lot. Maybe a lot more than the average 60-year-old does. And I kind of feel like my goal here is to do this for as long as I'm on this planet. And I plan to be around for a while. So with that in mind, I have to have some appropriate goals, but I push and push and push. I push the envelope for myself. I mean, it's uncomfortable. I tell people all the time, you can't lift that little 3-pound dumbbell forever and think you're going to make progress. You've got to get out of your comfort zone, lift some heavy weight. And that word heavy is relative to everybody. But you have to lift what's heavy for you if you want to get the benefits of it. And I put something out on Twitter, it was today or yesterday, that basically said, I'm all for you finding a method of exercise that you love to do. So whether that's yoga or Zumba or whatever, find what you love to do. But if you don't like strength training, you still need to find a way to incorporate it, period. You don't ever have to love it. And you don't have to ever, work out 4 times a week with it or whatever, but you do need to incorporate it because it's that important for you as you get older. It's that important because when you're 85 years old and you hadn't done strength training, you're going to be like my mom was. She could hardly stand up. She didn't have strength to press a button or turn a knob. I mean, that you don't want that to be you. So part of my message is you have to do it. You have to do it. It doesn't have to be what you love, but you need to incorporate it somehow into what you do.
And especially after 40, it is impressive how the physiology of especially, I think it affects women and men the same, but I think women are even a higher risk of bone mass loss. And it increases about 0.5 to 2%, depending on the person, of sarcopenia, of muscle loss every year as you go on and on. And if you don't train or you don't have a high protein diet, that probably is the 2 things that you have to even if you don't like it, even if you hate it, this has to be part of your life, even after 40s, 35.
Yeah.
I would say all your life, but the older you get, the more you need to focus on these two things: high protein diet and getting your resistance training however you can get it, but be consistent with it. And I think this is the main thing, is trying to find what can be consistent for you.
Yes.
How consistency can you be? It doesn't matter if it's like 3 times a week. If that's what you can get into and focus on. If it's 3 times a week, if it's 2 times a week, do whatever you can, but do it consistently.
Would agree. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I think it's important to say too that whatever you can do and be consistent with it, as you said, is what's going to make the change. And it doesn't mean going to the gym and spending 2 hours. That's not what strength training has to be. I mean, some people do that maybe because they like to do that or whatever, but that's not the basics of what you and I are saying. It could be 15 minutes a day in your house or whatever. I mean, I'm making that up, but it could be whatever. But just don't think that when you hear strength training, it means you have to go to the gym and lift 300 pounds. That's not what that is.
So I'm interested to know, and I think that I have to ask this question to myself, but I guess coming from you as well would be really interesting to hear your thoughts. When it comes to motivation, because we know motivation is something that we can't rely on, what happened how do you show up every day to the things you do? Because sometimes, and let's be more specific. When it comes to, for example, fitness and going to the gym and following a healthy diet consistently, how do you show up sometimes, especially for those that they don't have a goal, or like, well, I am a mom, I have 5 kids, I just don't think I can put something else in my boat right now, and I just don't find the motivation or the push to actually set up something that I can make it consistent all the time, because I just don't feel like I am there right now, or I just don't feel like I'm condemned to be like this for the rest of my life. So what would you say to get that motivation, or how can you set up a goal that can make you turn up on a daily basis to stay consistent with, even if it's the minimum you can commit to?
I mean, I think what you just said, I think the issue people have is they set too many goals, or they set these ginormous goals. When if you're a busy mom, you've got kids all, and kids are at home now for school here and whatever else is going to happen. Yeah, you know what? You probably don't have time to drive to a gym, do a workout and come back. Of course not. So if you try to put that into your day, of course you're going to, oh crap, I can't go today because I have to take so-and-so to this or whatever. Stop doing that to yourself, and then just say, okay, I'm going to go out and walk for 5 minutes. I don't want to, but I'm going to go for 5 minutes. And what will happen most of the time is that 5 minutes turns into 10. And maybe the next time that 10 turns into 15 or 20 or whatever, and I think it is, that's when you start seeing some results from the perspective of, I feel better. Maybe I got outside, got some fresh air, whatever it is. You start seeing some results, feeling better as a result, and that's going to keep you motivated to go out the next time, and then the next time, and then the next time. And you're going to feel accomplished because you've checked the box. I did it today. I did it today. That's how you do it. To create motivation, you have to take action first. And people get that reversed. They sit back and they wait to be motivated to do something. And you're going to be waiting for the rest of your life, because it doesn't work that way. It's not something that you wait to come to you, or it's not something that you go find. You create it, and you have to create it, and by doing things, especially when you don't want to do them. Because when you start breaking through that friction, then you're going to start seeing those results. As soon as you break through that wall, you're going to start seeing the results, and that's going to keep the loop going. Action, results, motivation. It goes like that. And
Absolutely.
it's not easy, but sometimes when people talk to me about that, I say, look, I don't have magic dust I can throw on you and just say, boom, you're going to be motivated. The reality is this: it's on you. You have to get up and you have to go walk for 5 minutes. Start with that. I mean, and I say that with all kinds of love behind it, but it's a push, because
it sounds so simple.
Yeah.
And people think that's not going to work. How is it going to work to just do 5 minutes? Well, the problem is that the barrier is to get out and and just start.
Yes.
Once you start, the ball rolling just comes automatically, and that's what people don't see.
Right. I totally agree. I think people make the mistake of saying, well, I'm going to walk for 5 minutes, so how's that going to make me lose 50 pounds? Well, guess what? That 5-minute walk is not what's going to make you lose 50 pounds right then and there. But that 5-minute walk is the first step for you to lose those 50 pounds or whatever it is, I think people look way down at the finish line and think, how is this little thing going to help me way down there? When they forget about the whole area between here and way down there. There's a lot that happens in there.
And that's why people fail, because they think they need to start with the finish. So to get there, I need to start going into a diet of 1,200 calories. I need to train 5 times a week. It's like all these sort of overwhelming things that they just can't fit it into their life when they have no habits built or not routine, or they don't even know what to do in the gym or what to train. So you gotta kind of need to start figuring that out first. Organizing your nutrition with the minimum things you can handle to make it sustainable, and you're going to progress over time. As the time goes by, you're going to get better at that, and you're going to be more comfortable, and then you can challenge yourself a little bit further, and that's how you progress. It's not like progress comes all at once. So that's very important to talk about.
It's amazing how taking action starts that ball rolling. No one's motivated all the time. Surely I'm not. But there are days where I didn't want to go to the gym and work out. Or sometimes I work out down here. Like today was a great example. I had a busy day. I really didn't have time to drive to my gym, even though it's close, do everything there and come home. It's more efficient for me just to stay home today with what I had on my workout plan and do it here. I'm down here working. I'm writing this book. I'm down here editing it. I'm like, I don't want to stop. I really want to. I'm like, no, you know what? No, boom. Let me just do it. I really fought with myself on this today, and I ended up doing a workout, and I feel 10 times better because I actually did it, and I had to fight myself. So it happens to all of us, and it helps build consistency and habits. That word habits, we hear that a lot. It helps with that, because as I tell everybody, consistency is the one guarantee with this whole thing. If you're consistent, you're going to succeed. You will, and it happens 100% of the time. It's just, we think we're a lot more consistent than we actually are. And that's why people don't always succeed until they start looking at that. Right. But it's related to making yourself do things you don't want to do. And then that carries over. Then it becomes a routine, and you hear people say it becomes a part of who I am. And that's very true. Me working out 4 days a week is kind of my deal now. This is what I do. And my workout days, the days I do it may change based on my schedule, but I can set clockwork. It's always 4 days because that's what I do now. And it took a while to get there, but you have to push, push through all that and take action.
Because you gotta get to a point where you are so consistent that it actually gets built in you, and when you don't do it, you actually feel like something is missing. And I think that's also something that I've experienced a lot. Like, a lot of people around me think that I might be obsessed if I don't exercise, or because I'm not burning calories. And like, no, it's part of me. It's like, if I don't exercise today, I'm probably going to get a physical headache. I do get migraines, and this is going to be potentially something that is going to come out just because I am not breathing. I use exercise as meditation as well. I breathe better when I'm exercising than when I'm not exercising. I'm more focused on my breathing. And I don't know.
think our mind is clear. And I mean, just you feel accomplished. And, you know, I don't know. There's something to be said for keeping consistent with that. And if you're new to working out, or you feel like you don't have time to do all these big workouts, cool, start with walking. Literally start with walking. And if you don't know where to start with your nutrition, literally write everything down that you put in your mouth throughout the course of a day. And I tell everybody to do this. I tell everybody, get a notebook and handwrite it. Don't type it into your phone, handwrite it. And
write it. Yep.
And this is the old school me talking, because when you write something with your hand, it is in here more. It's in your brain. There's research behind that. It's like when kids study for tests and they take notes, not typing, but they take it with their hand. It's here more. Same thing when you write down what you eat every single day with a pen and a piece of paper. It's going to bring more awareness, and which is what we want to have happen, right? We want you to be aware of all the little things that we all do, where we take a bite of this, a handful of that, write it on a piece of paper. Don't weigh it, don't measure it, just write it down. And that's where I have everyone start. Those two things. If they're new to everything, do those two things. And they're all like, yeah, I can do that. I mean, you know, that's where you can start. If you're coming in at an entry level, you don't really know what to do that. Because the habits, once you start writing everything down, your habits will change probably by day 3, because you're going to be hesitant to take that handful of something if you have to start writing it down.
Write it down.
Paper, right? Yeah. So you'll start seeing change just from that. You know, that's how my son started. He lost 60 pounds. That's how he started. He did that for a long time. It's just writing things down and becoming aware what he was eating, and then starting to make better choices.
And I would say that even for advanced trainees or advanced people, sometimes just doing that, it also brings a lot of awareness, and it makes you reflect a lot more on what you're eating, what are your choices, how are you feeling. And this is something I do in my coaching program a lot, is that I put my clients the first week to write things down in a paper. I tell them, print this diary. I print this diary. I want you to write down everything you eat every single day, and also add in a column, how do you feel before and after? What are your thoughts? What is going on in there? Because sometimes you might be eating out of emotions and not necessarily because you're hungry. Mm-hmm. So I want you to connect more with your intuition, with your internal cues, what is going on in there. And that 5 days change a lot of your choices, even if you're a trainee that are advanced or someone who's been tracking for years. Sometimes that change of the way you do things and writing down, as you said, changes so much the perspective of what are you doing, what are you eating. And I would say also, I add sometimes, well, let's set up weekly goals rather than monthly goals. Let's achieve these small things first, and let's track it with maybe the consistency calendar. We use a consistency calendar. Let's check and track them every single day to keep consistency, because consistency is the only thing that is going to get us to the end. In a successful way. So I feel like we are very in line in the sense that we need to write things down. Especially if you want to change something in your nutrition, is bringing that awareness and using the diary. I'm probably old school too, but I'm 31 years old, but I think I feel like I am still old school. I struggle with technology as well, and I feel like, oh my God, I am going to collapse here sometime. But yes.
You know, it's so funny. I'm old enough to be everybody's mom, right? I have many adopted kids out there in our industry that I've kind of adopted along the way. And they all laugh at me because I don't use an app when I track. I've never used an app, ever. And I get asked, what app do you use? I said, I don't use one. They said, well, how do you track? I started by writing it on a piece of paper, and then I moved to a spreadsheet. So I thought that was kind of a big deal, right? I saved it to a spreadsheet. So the columns added up for me. So there you go. I didn't have to do any more of the addition. It all worked. But it's just, you know, old school, new school, it doesn't matter. It's just awareness, right?
Just get it there.
It's just awareness. However you can get there, but start with awareness. And I just love the writing things down, because we all fall into the nibbling, the tasting, the going to the snack drawer when we're not really hungry, but we're bored and we've been working. And, you know, I mean, we all do that, and we can lose sight of that very quickly, you know? So writing it down is a great thing. You're right. And you're right. It's great for anybody.
And I remember, like, even when I started, I didn't know how to track or anything like that. And I'm talking about even just before I started nutrition, this way before, when I started at the gym at 13 years old or 14 years old, I started bringing my awareness and my nutrition, what do I need to change? And it's funny that I didn't know how to track, or I didn't have a tracker or anything. And I basically, what I was doing, I was writing things down, put it on a notebook, what was going into my mouth, and literally I was looking to the calories and nutrition panel of every single thing and being aware of what is that, how much is that. And that's the only way I actually learned in the beginning, even before anything else was available or the trackers existed. I don't know whether they actually existed when I was, probably were, they already existed, but I wasn't aware that they existed. And this is amazing how just that little thing changed it completely. In addition, that if you start exercising, if you start adding other well-established little habits, they can add up to what are you doing, because you're exercising, you're feeling good, you're seeing results. Well, I must be doing something right.
Yeah. So
then I keep exercising, I keep adding the good nutrition. Now, if you start looking for more expertise nutrition advice, you're using, well, I need to have more protein. What are the foods that are high in protein? I perhaps just add more of those in my diet.
Yeah.
And that's how you start building up towards something that is going to make you get to a maintenance place where you're maintaining your weight, you're seeing results, and you're changing your body. And I would ask you something. Do you feel like you have been able in the past 5 years, especially when you've changed so much your physique, do you feel like your weight has kind of stayed the same, but your body composition changed? Or you have seen more changes in your weight as well, in your body composition?
Yeah, you know, when I first started working with Jordan, I didn't own a scale. So I really didn't know how much I weighed. But I would just take note when I had to go to the doctor and I got weighed there, and how much it was going down. So I did lose weight. Probably, my guess is maybe 20 some pounds in total from that point. I think I might have lost a little bit prior to signing on with him. But your point of body composition, significant changes without a lot of weight movement. Because I've been close to the same weight for years now. When I was in a muscle building phase, I gained 1 pound a month. That was my goal. For 6 months, 1 pound a month. That's exactly what I did. I was up 6 pounds. I hadn't weighed that much in a while. And honestly, that was a little tough at the beginning, you know, because the old voices in the head were trying to, you know, freak me out a little bit. And since then, I mean, it's been since February or January, I guess, I've dropped a couple of pounds, and it wasn't even on purpose. I had no intention to go into a deficit. I kind of liked how I looked after the muscle stuff, but I've noticed myself, I have reshaped myself again I put on some body fat too, as I put on muscle, which is part of the deal. I've shed that body fat now, a lot of it, without really changing the weight that much. I mean, I'm down maybe 2.5 pounds at most from that end point of the muscle building phase. So to your point, recently, and within the last 6 months, yeah, I've seen a lot of change in me and not so much on the scale.
And it is impressive to see that, because people think, well, after 50, you're very unlikely to change body composition because you're deemed old.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
this is very common. And I see a lot of clients coming to me with that thought. Well, I'm just old. I am sort of hopeless.
Yeah,
So
I had
this
that
is
same
very,
feeling. I had the
yeah.
same feeling. I just figured this is what happens to us as we get older. You know, we have no control. We can't build muscle. We can't lean out. We can't do anything. So yeah, I thought the exact same thing. And I think it's really, people kind of underestimate what they have to do. Not that it's impossible, because it's not, but I think people underestimate what has to happen, especially as you get older. And I think it is just, we think eating healthy is good enough. And honestly, eating healthy is great. Obviously, we want to feel good and be at our best, but that's not enough all the time. You have to be a little bit more aware of how much of this healthy stuff you're eating, in addition to whatever else you might be doing. And then the other issue is people, as you get older, trying to do it alone. And sometimes that's the hardest part. I see people in my gym all the time, and older women, and older, probably, my guess is they're in their 50s, and they walk up into the gym and they're wandering around. You can tell they don't know what to do. They wander. And then this one woman in particular, I see her, she goes over to the cable machine. She does some lat pull downs, some lightweight, because it's just flying down, right? And then she goes and does bicep curls on the other side, right? She does 2 sets of those. She wanders around again and she leaves. And in her mind, she's probably thinking, I had strength train today, you know? But when you don't know what to do, and you have no guidance, it can be very frustrating. You can feel like you're doing everything right and you're not making any progress, and then you quit. You know, I get it, because that's how I felt nutritionally. You know, I thought I was doing everything right by eating healthy, but I wasn't. That wasn't quite what I needed to do. Eating healthy is great. And I don't want anybody to think I'm saying don't eat healthy. That's not what I'm saying. It's just that healthy food has calories that often we don't think about because it's healthy, right?
Yeah.
So,
It is very true. It is very easy to overconsume healthy
sure.
foods.
Yeah.
And you feel like, oh, well, this is not going to get me fat because it's healthy. But if I ate a donut, then I'm going to gain weight because it's a bad food.
Instantly, right? We're going to instantly gain weight when we eat a donut. But if we eat a lot of avocado for the same number of calories, oh, no. These are healthy fats. You know, it's so funny that we do that. But
yeah,
I just think it's interesting, you know, along the same line, how we think it takes so long to lose fat, but yet we're willing to say we gain fat in one night. You know,
absolutely.
Our brains are so weird with that.
And the brain is so powerful. And I could tell you, before years before I was a dietitian, I struggled with bulimia and like an eating disorder. And I could tell you that I could instantly feel how my thighs had more cellulite.
Mm-hmm. What?
And it was, and my stomach, it was just like I had already put a pound of fat in my stomach, and I ate potentially a normal serving size of pasta or something that I deemed bad. And I knew it was something prohibited in my diet because I had to restrict a lot of foods that were potentially going to put me in a bad place because they were high calorie, high fat, high sugar. And I had this I was pointing out these foods, I need to eliminate them on my diet. And if I have them, I have to throw them out in a way. I need to get rid of them. And I struggle with that a lot. So I think it is that mindset change, that transformation in your mindset. That, look, weight doesn't change that way. And even if you ate something, it's all about the calorie balance at the end of the day. Even if you ate a lot of healthy foods, they will still have a lot of calories, and that's not going to diminish the side that you could have occasionally and enjoy your pizza or your donuts, and that's not going to dramatically change your body composition. So this is so important.
Yeah.
What every woman over 40 should learn and do when it comes to fat loss? What would be your tips?
Especially if you're new to the game, start writing every single thing down that you eat and drink. Every single sip, taste, bite, whatever. Write it all down. Get a handle and an awareness of what you're consuming every day. That alone is going to work wonders for you down the road. That would be one thing. Move every day. Do something every day. Walking is the one thing I always recommend, just because everyone can do it. It's accessible to everyone. You don't need a bike. You don't need to go anywhere. You can put on your shoes and you can just go. So those two things. But I also want every woman over 40 or any age actually to understand this, that there's no finish line to this. We somehow have this short vision of, okay, this is the end point for me. And when we do that, like I want to lose 10 pounds in 3 weeks or whatever, I'm making that up, but some sort of time constraint. What we end up doing is we put pressure on ourselves to perform, and we get what I call a case of the should be's. I should be losing weight faster. I should be lifting more weight in the gym. I should be doing this, or I'm not doing this. It is ridiculous what we do to ourselves. And this case of the should be's is the death of just about any kind of diet, anything you want to do. It will be the death of it if you start doing that to yourself. And how many times have you and I probably both heard, why am I not losing weight faster? I should be losing more weight. Half a pound a week. What? Because we're thinking short term. It's not fast enough. It's not whatever. So get rid of the finish line thing in our head, because there isn't one. We think there is. You think that when you lose the weight, you're suddenly going to be happier and life is going to be the best it's ever been. And it doesn't work that way. We evolve, we change, we want different goals. So there's no real finish line. The finish line is when we're dead and buried. That's kind of the finish line. This is for life. We need to think more long-term, more slow, sustainable, progress, as opposed to let me lose weight really quickly, for whatever reason. That for me, when I really embraced that, that changed my life. I just got out of these cycles of trying to perform and overly restricting what I ate, just to gain it back in different increments over time. It's huge. So no more finish lines. Enjoy this, because guys, we're here on this planet one time, right? And we don't want to spend most of our time worrying about, God, I should have lost, this amount of weight, or I can't have that donut, or I'm at this party with my friends. It's a special occasion and I can't enjoy anything, because if I do, it's going to ruin my little timeline and screw all that. Enjoy it. It's life. We got to learn to live it the way we want to live it.
Absolutely. I agree with you. No finish lines, high protein diet, resistance train, find what works for you, be consistent with that. And just change that mindset. Change everything. Start from here. Stop thinking that you need to be motivated to start doing something. Change the things around and start doing to see results, and the results will bring motivation, and that's just going to be a continuous cycle of pushing you. And try to find accountability if you struggle with being accountable with yourself.
100%. Yeah, we're cut from the same cloth, my friend.
I appreciate you so much. Thank you so much for being here.
Absolutely. I appreciate you so much too. So thank you. We'll do this again. We'll do it on mine the next time. You and I will do one together again. I love this.
Thank you so much.
All right. Take care.
Bye, Susan.
Bye.